Be me, Miles Corbin, owner and lead craftsman at Legacy Builds. We specialize in high-end, bespoke carpentry and renovation, the kind that demands absolute structural integrity and artistic precision. My world is about lines, levels, and the inherent strength of materials. My reputation is built on reliability, on exceeding code, on making things beautiful and fundamentally sound. Be not me, Aura Lux. Self-proclaimed lifestyle curator and social media influencer. Her world is about filters, fleeting trends, and the inherent value of exposure. She believed her Instagram follow account was a universal currency, redeemable for luxury goods and services. Especially mine. The initial inquiry came through my assistant, Sarah. Aura Lux was planning her Forest Nymph Mystical Union themed wedding at the Whispering Willow Estate. A truly beautiful, historic property known for its sprawling gardens and an exquisitely maintained 18th century ornamental pond. Aura wanted a floating ceremonial stage over a section of this pond. She wanted it custom, elaborate, and naturally free in exchange for unparalleled exposure. My initial response was a polite but firm rejection. Legacy Builds does not work for exposure. We have a marketing partnership clause for truly unique, high-profile collaborations, but it's a specific agreement, not a blank check. Sarah explained our policy, quoted our standard rates for such a complex custom build. Aura Lux was not deterred. She found my personal email. A torrent of demanding messages followed. She insisted her wedding was a once-in-a-generation event that would catapult Legacy Builds into the stratosphere. She attached screenshots of her follow account. The sheer arrogance was breathtaking. After several days of this relentless onslaught and a few frantic calls from the estate manager, Mr. Henderson, who was eager for the publicity but equally wary of Aura's reputation, I relented partially. We would offer a deeply discounted rate. It wasn't free, but it was barely above cost. This was a concession I hated making. The agreement was explicit. The contract, meticulously drafted by my lawyer, detailed every single specification. Guest capacity for the stage, 80 individuals. Material specs for load-bearing elements were non-negotiable. Any deviation from these terms, any exceeding of the capacity, or any unauthorized modification would immediately void all warranty and render the full, undiscounted project cost payable immediately. Aura signed it after complaining the font wasn't aesthetic enough and the clauses were boring legal jargon. Her signature was a scrawl. The design phase was pure agony. Aura had a vision. That vision involved structural elements being invisible, ethereal, and barely there. She wanted thinner planks, lighter woods, fewer supports, all for aesthetic purity. I pushed back hard. My business is founded on safety. Period. A floating stage over a pond, even a shallow one, presents inherent risks. Miles, darling, the point is for it to look like it's floating on pure magic. She'd whine over video calls, her perfectly manicured hand gesturing vaguely at my detailed schematics. Not a clunky wooden box. I explained the physics, the engineering, the sheer folly of her demands. Aura, if we thin those supports any further, this stage won't hold a dozen people, let alone 80. I had to compromise, using the absolute bare minimum for the agreed-upon guest count of 80, but maintaining structural integrity. Every material choice, every joint, every anchor point was documented, photographed, and approved in writing by her. My internal monologue was a constant stream of, "This is going to be a disaster." My team shared my apprehension. We knew this woman was trouble. Every email, every text, every verbal instruction from her was logged, time-stamped, and archived. Then came the pre-build site inspection. Aura arrived with her entourage, all armed with cell phones. She walked onto the marked area for the stage. "Miles," she announced, "this simply isn't large enough. My forest nymphs need ample space to truly express themselves through dance." She declared the stage needed to be at least 30% larger. I explained the implications. "Aura, we've already started fabricating based on the signed dimensions. Enlarging it now means a complete redesign, new materials, and significant cost overruns. More importantly, it impacts the structural calculations for the pond bed supports. The pond itself is historically sensitive, she scoffed. Oh, please, I told your little assistant weeks ago I might want more space. This is your fault for not being proactive. Are you trying to ruin my wedding vision? My assistant, Mark, a man whose patience was legendary, confirmed she had only hinted at a potential need for more space, and he'd immediately flagged that as a significant scope change requiring a formal addendum. Aura just brushed him off. I took a deep breath. Fine, I said, my voice dangerously calm. We will build the primary stage area to the original signed specifications for the agreed 80-person load. The additional area you require will be built as a decorative extension only. It will be clearly marked, and it will not be weight-bearing for additional guests. Any use of that extension beyond decorative purposes will be at your own risk, and it will immediately trigger the liability clause in our contract, meaning full, undiscounted payment is due. She beamed, oblivious. Oh, Miles, you're a lifesaver. See, it just needed a little creative thinking. She clearly assumed I was just saying that to cover myself, not that I meant every single word. I had her sign an addendum acknowledging this specific modification. Detailed diagrams showing the load-bearing versus decorative sections were included, signed, and time-stamped. I had secured her agreement to her own doom. The wedding day dawned, bright and deceptively serene. The Whispering Willow estate hummed with activity. My team, Mark leading the on-site crew, had completed the floating stage. It looked magnificent, a truly ethereal platform hovering just above the still, reflective water of the 18th century pond. The main stage area was pristine. The decorative extension, a slightly lighter colored wood, blended seamlessly but was distinct, positioned strategically over a shallower part of the pond, precisely as designed beautiful, but not designed for a full load. Discrete signage, per the addendum, indicated the main stage capacity and warned against overloading the extension. Signs Aura herself had approved, though she'd called them tacky but necessary. The ceremony went off without a hitch. The reception began. Guests, all 80 of them, circulated on the main stage, admiring the view, taking photos. Then, the first hiccup. A luxury coach pulled up the winding driveway, unannounced. Out spilled 20 additional guests. 20 surprise VIPs, as Aura later called them. Aura, radiant in her elaborate gown, sashayed over to me. Miles, darling, good news. My dearest childhood friends and their plus ones have arrived. They simply must join us on the stage for the toast. She gestured imperiously towards the crowded platform, then to the decorative extension. And look, plenty of space on the lovely, expanded area you provided. Mark stepped forward, professional but firm. Miss Lux, the stage is already at its maximum capacity of 80 guests, and the extension, as per the addendum, is decorative only. It cannot accommodate additional weight. Aura's smile didn't falter, but her eyes narrowed, flashing with fury. You're just a contractor, Miles, tell him. My contract is for my wedding, not a guest count. These are my guests. Accommodate them. This is unacceptable. She then turned to her event coordinator, a nervous young woman named Chloe. Chloe, darling, please direct our VIPs onto the stage. Make sure they use all the available space, especially that charming little annex there. This was it, the breaking point. My face went blank. My internal monologue, usually a buzzing hive of calculations and problem-solving, became absolutely still. This was precisely the scenario I had anticipated. I pulled out my tablet, its screen already showing a secure, encrypted folder. Understood, Aura, I said, my voice even. Mark, ensure the support team activates all documentation protocols. Body cams on, static cameras confirmed. Time-stamped photos and video of every guest entering the stage area, especially the new arrivals and their positions. Mark nodded, his own expression grim. My team, scattered discreetly around the stage, moved into action. Small, almost invisible cameras, already pre-positioned, whirred to life. Each of my crew wore a body cam. Their instructions were clear. Observe, document, do not interfere unless there's an imminent threat to life, and be ready for emergency bracing. I turned back to Aura, tablet held prominently. Just to confirm, Aura, I said, ensuring my voice was clear and every word was picked up by my body cam. You want all guests, including these additional 20, to utilize the entire stage area, including the decorative extension for load-bearing purposes? She tossed her head, a confident, dismissive laugh escaping her lips. Yes, darling, make it work. That's what I pay you for. Her words, clear as a bell, were now recorded, time-stamped, and linked directly to the live camera feeds of the guests pouring onto the stage, filling the extension to capacity. My legal team was already configured to receive a real-time stream of this evidence. The music swelled again, a triumphant anthem. Aura was mid-toast, glass raised, basking in the adoration of her now over 100 guests crammed onto a stage designed for 80, with a decorative extension groaning under the weight. Then it started, a low, ominous groan, not from the music, from the wood. A distinct, sickening creak echoed across the pond, cutting through the festive chatter. People hesitated, looking around. Then, a louder crack. A collective gasp rose from the crowd. The section of the stage where the decorative extension met the main platform, precisely where the bulk of Aura's additional VIPs was standing, began to visibly sag. Water splashed up from beneath. The crack propagated rapidly across the surface planks. Panic erupted. Shrieks filled the air. Several guests, caught off balance, stumbled and fell into the shallow, muddy pond water. Designer gowns soaked, expensive shoes ruined. No serious injuries, thankfully, but the dignity of Aura's mystical union shattered. The stage's integrity was compromised, a dangerous tilt developing. Aura's perfectly composed face twisted from smug satisfaction to pure, unadulterated horror. She dropped her glass, shattering it at her feet. "What have you done?" she shrieked, her voice shrill, pointing a trembling finger directly at me. "You've ruined everything." I stepped forward, calm amidst the chaos. My team followed the signed contract specifications to the letter. "Aura," I stated, my voice cutting through the rising clamor. The stage was built for 80 guests, with a specifically designated decorative, non-load-bearing extension. Your explicit instruction to accommodate 100 guests, and specifically to use that extension for load, was recorded and is time-stamped. I held up my tablet, the screen clearly displaying the live feed from 2 camera angles, showing the dangerously overcrowded stage and her verbal command. Mark stepped beside me, holding his own tablet, displaying the signed contract, with Section 4B, the liability clause highlighted in red. Section 4B, Miss Lux. Exceeding capacity or using the decorative expansion for weight-bearing voids all liability. The emergency repair clause and full cost payment are now in effect. The venue manager, Mr. Henderson, a man whose face was usually a picture of serene composure, rushed over, his features a mask of utter fury. The edge of his beloved 18th century pond was visibly damaged where the overstressed supports had dug in, and one of our temporary anchors had snapped, creating a small divot in the historical mud. He had warned Aura about guest limits. Aura's managers and brand representatives materialized, flustered and pale, attempting to take control, but it was too late. My team had already uploaded all documentation photos, videos, audio to a secure, time-stamped cloud server instantly accessible to our legal counsel. The wedding was in ruins. The police, called by Mr. Henderson due to potential structural damage to a historic site and public endangerment, were already on their way. Lawyers, alerted by the rapid escalation, were already in motion. Aura's brand was not merely damaged, it was obliterated in a splash of muddy pond water. My legal team ensured Legacy Builds was completely indemnified. The initial, heavily discounted rate was instantly nullified. She was now on the hook for the full, undiscounted value of the bespoke build, plus all emergency repairs, plus the extensive, costly damages to the Whispering Willow Estate's historically significant pond. Update 1, 2 weeks later. Aura Lux's carefully curated online persona imploded. Her attempts at an apology video, trying to spin the stage collapse as an unfortunate accident beyond her control, were brutally torn apart. My team's footage, officially released by the estate manager, who had zero patience for Aura's lies, went viral. It clearly showed her directing guests onto the overloaded extension, her casual dismissal of warnings, and her frantic, blame-shifting outburst. Sponsors dropped her faster than a hot potato. Ironically, Legacy Builds is now getting calls from truly legitimate high-end clients who appreciate our ironclad contracts and professional integrity. Our business is thriving amidst Aura's spectacular downfall. Update 2 months later. The legal proceedings are a brutal, drawn-out affair. Aura's personal finances, once propped up by brand deals, are evaporating under the relentless assault of lawsuits. The Whispering Willow Estate's pond required extensive, costly restoration by historical conservationists, a bill Aura is fully liable for. She's being sued not just by the estate and Legacy Builds for damages and unpaid invoices, but also by several disgruntled guests whose designer outfits were utterly ruined. Her long-suffering manager finally jumped ship, reportedly citing unbearable toxic entitlement. Aura's social media accounts are a wasteland, mostly filled with angry comments and memes of her flailing in the pond. Update 6 months later, Aura Lux is officially Aura broke. Her last remaining social media accounts were deactivated. Her name is now synonymous with professional negligence and outrageous entitlement. The luxury event industry has blacklisted her. The last I heard, she was indeed curating cat memes, but for a struggling local pet store's TikTok, presumably for actual wages this time. My company, Legacy Builds, now includes a mandatory Aura clause in all new contracts involving potential influencer partnerships, explicitly detailing liability for malicious compliance. Business is booming, our reputation for meticulousness is stronger than ever, and the Whispering Willow Estate's pond looks absolutely pristine. Justice, it seems, can be quite beautiful.